Introduction. We're very lucky to have Christina. She's the CMO of Cookie3. At Bondex, actually, we're proud clients of Cookie3. We've had a fantastic experience with them. And really, it's a blockchain analytics platform that focuses on providing deep insights into user behavior within the Web3 ecosystem. It leverages on-chain data to understand how users interact with decentralized applications, dApps like Bondex, NFTs, DeFi platforms, and other blockchain services. Cookie3 aims to help businesses, developers, and marketers make data-driven decisions by offering tools to analyze user engagement, track transaction patterns, and segment audiences based on their behaviors across different blockchain networks. And we've been proud clients. We've been, again, a fantastic experience. We've analyzed almost 1 million wallets within the Bondex ecosystem from different sources. The segmenting has been fantastic. Cannot say good enough things about you guys, because I think it's very much needed to have this proper on-chain analytics to really understand your community, your user base, your ecosystem, and make those decisions that really drive adoption and product forward. So super excited to have you here, Christina. Maybe you want to give a little bit of introduction about yourself and what you do at Cookie3 as a CMO?
Yes, thank you so much for having me again. That was a great introduction into what we do at Cookie3. As for myself, I've been with Cookie3 for almost a year now as a CMO. And well, we've taken Cookie3 to almost 500,000 followers on Twitter. We've released a new product while I was here, which is Cookie3 Affiliate, and recently KOL Intelligence. We have right now over 300 clients, one of you, which is one of you. You're one of them. So it's great, and super happy to hear that, you are having an amazing experience with us. When it comes to myself, I've been in Web3 for about 5 years in marketing and PR. I've worked in agencies before. So I've worked with many different projects like DOP, like Neo, like Acoin. And before that, I was also in PR and marketing, but I was doing luxury fashion. So I sort of made a switch from the fashion world into Web3.
I always love to hear about people's journey into Web3 as a professional. We're Web3 LinkedIn and professional network. So I'd love to hear about that transition. What took you down the rabbit hole into Web3 as a professional?
Of course. So I was living and working in London for like a big fashion agency in luxury fashion. It was like 2020. And then I already started being like sort of interested in tech, and it was mostly like AI and data. It wasn't Web3. And then I went home to Poland for a weekend, and this is when like all the lockdowns happened. So I stayed at home, and then I was working remotely for a bit, but I was staying with my parents. I didn't have to like look after myself financially that much. So I was like, okay, like it's lockdown, I'm going back to uni, I'm going to do my master's, and I did master's in digital sociology. And there we got introduced to blockchain, we got introduced to crypto, and I sunk in. So we had one module, it was all about crypto, and then it got me, and I was like, this is so interesting, this is what I want to do. And obviously I already had like a couple of years under my belt in PR and marketing. So I was like, well, instead of starting a career from scratch, how about I use my experience in PR and marketing and apply it to something that's really caught my interest, to the industry that I started being in. And this is how I got into Web3.
I love that. So yeah, I think people need to, when they think about their skill set and how to get into Web3, I think looking at what they currently have some expertise in and how it could be fit into the industry and different companies. There's so many verticals, right, that I think you can always expand into learning about Web3 and becoming a professional in the space. And actually, this places you in a unique perspective. You have Web2 and Web3 experience on the marketing field. What are some of the key differences that you would say between the more traditional space and Web3 marketing?
Well, I mean, starting off, because we were talking about like careers and people, it's the age of people working in Web3. Like in Web3, when you're like me, you're like 28 or like around 30. You're like old. You're one of the oldest people in like working in the industry. Like when you go into a company, it's all super young people. So it's also marketing that's tailored to young people in the industry. So it's really different. Because for example, when I worked in Web2 marketing, it's super hierarchical. You have people who are soon to be retired, who are in like C-level position. Then, And
Yeah.
because Web3 is so new and it's people, everyone's new to the space somehow. So it's a lot of young people working. So I feel like that's one of like the cultural difference when it comes to working. But when it comes to marketing itself, well, one of the key differences is the change of the narratives. I saw a tweet, I think today, someone was posting and was saying like, oh, Web3 marketing is different because like Web3 is a religion, and it literally is like the way like people believe in narratives are changing, and to stay current, like people are so into the projects they follow, into the projects they're invested, like they truly believe in it, and it's really important to leverage it. So it's super important to be current and like to be on trend, to know what people are talking about, and to sort of hook onto the trends. Obviously, not maybe your project or your token or whatever you're doing doesn't 100% fit the narrative, but at least being a voice on the narratives that are being current is super important. And one ways to do this is through data and understanding your audience, which is another very key difference between Web2 and Web3 marketing. So, Web2 marketing is data driven as well, very often. But the difference with Web2 and Web3 marketing when it comes to data is the amount of data that is available, and that the data is decentralized. The data is out there for you to take it. You don't have to go through like centralized advertising sources of like Google or Facebook to get like people's data, because it's just out there. Like you don't need a third party who's going to be collecting this data, because everything's on chain, everything's open, and you get even more insights. Because in Web 2, like I can see and analyze what other projects people are following, but in Web3, because there is the financial aspect and the investment aspect of, what's in the wallet. If I can analyze a user's wallet, I get very special information about how they engage with my brand, but also how they engage with other brands. If I see someone is holding like a doodle NFT, like I know, and let's say I see, the audience holding doodles NFTs, they behaved in a certain way, or they have like this big economic power or trading volume on chain, then I can sort of adjust my marketing strategy to really fit this audience. Or I believe like my targeted persona, someone I want to target, is like similar to, let's say, a Pudgy Penguins holder. Then I research them. I research Pudgy Penguins. I research like what other coins are these guys holding, like, because in our analytics and Cookie3 analytics, this is all the data that you can get. So you can research that and you can see this. And based on this, you can decide how you want to run your campaigns. Maybe do a partnership with a project like this, or maybe you can even research this audience even more and create campaigns that are going to be compelling for them.
That's what's amazing, is that the blockchain allows people to know their audience's economic intent, because you can see their investments and what they hold and what they see as something they're putting their money behind, right? But I think sometimes I feel that it's missing the psychometric data that you have in Web 2. Wouldn't it be the best of both worlds if you could have some of that psychometric data, like who someone is and their wallet holdings? So you could have basically a credit rating and their economic interest mixed with who they are and their social interest. That's something that we're playing around with here at Bondex, and I'm excited about. What do you think? Do you think that's not a big difference? Like, what do you think?
I think it depends on the whole journey. The more and more analytics, like our analytics, that we're able to pair, like, let's say, wallet holdings with website session, especially when it comes, because what I said now, it's more for analyzing your target audience. If you want to see, another project's audience, which you normally in Web2 you can't really see it that well, but I want to see another project's audience, and I search it by token and I see the holders. But when I, as a project, for example, use Cookie3 analytics, I can see this off-chain to on-chain connection, because we use the same data like Google Analytics, like similar data as Google Analytics and Web2 Analytics use. So if, let's say, I'm a project and I have my site where you can connect your wallet, and I get the traffic into my site, I get all the off-chain data. I get location, I get, age, I get where they come from, all the data that you normally get. But then where it's different in Web2, what, for example, Google Analytics cannot do, is the on-chain movement. It's what happens when this person connects the wallet. And in Web2, in services like Google Analytics, someone connects the wallet, and this is where you end seeing information about your user. And in Web3, this is like the most important information you have. Because if you run a campaign and you have loads of websites visits into,
I think you have a puppy over there making some
yeah, I
noise.
think, hang on, I'm going to, because I think someone just arrived, so I'm just going to let him out. Sorry.
I think someone wants to go to the bathroom.
Apologies. I just need it. I think my husband just got home, so he just wanted to go and say hi. Anyways, where was I? All right. So when you are running a campaign and you have a lot of visitors to your website from this campaign, but then once they move on chain, like they don't interact, they don't like buy your token, they don't buy your NFT, they don't interact with your smart contract, or you see that they have, I don't know, less than $10 in their wallet, this is probably not the audience that's bringing you a lot of value, a lot of on-chain value, which is super important for you. And when you are running a different campaign, let's see, and you don't have that many visitors, but like, for example, it's a lot of whales, or it's a lot of people who are interacting a lot with your smart contract, then it's probably worth putting your budget into this campaign more, rather than like this first campaign, which is actually not converting quality users. So it's about connecting this data. And then, for example, if I see, let's say, all of these quality users are coming from Turkey, well, I might be interested in maybe hiring like a Turkish marketing manager, launching a Turkish community, going to Turkish events more, because I see that the actual on-chain quality is coming from there. And if I was to use only Web2 data, I would probably think that my first campaign is more successful. It's about joining off-chain to on-chain.
That's very cool. So, the insights in your view are much deeper, and they can inform, from regions to insights. I mean, companies can really use that to, drive their growth, their engagement, their retention. That's super interesting. And that leads me to my next question is like, what trends are you seeing emerging in that world of data collection, analysis, and how it's used for Web3? Like, what is coming up in this space? I know you guys have a few cool things that you must be working on about the next level.
I mean, I feel, AI narratives are trending a lot. We've recently launched this new tool called KOL Intelligence, which allows you to see what projects are KOLs talking about, and what KOLs are talking about what projects. And we're seeing AI is dominating everything. And interestingly, also meme coins are becoming less of a hot narrative. They're still super, super hot. But I was actually looking at stats from Kaito, which is an interesting, sort of like our complementary software for social listening. And they were showing that AI is still like a growing narrative in Web3, whereas meme coins are sort of slowing down. Like they're still big, like their second biggest narrative, but they're slowing down. And Depin is actually like growing. So I'm actually expecting that Depin projects are going to like take off soon, because this narrative is growing more and more.
That's interesting. So that's another application. If you are an investor and you want to know what trends are going to be hot and base your investment on that, I mean, they should look at Cookie3 as well, because KOLs obviously in social networks, from Twitter to everything else, what the KOLs talk about, it's very important. It drives a lot of investment, right, and value. So that's interesting. That's another case, right? Do you guys have investors as clients, apart from maybe liquid VCs? I would expect that they would get a lot of use from here. But could retail investors, access Cookie3 in the future, maybe to drive these insights?
Definitely. Well, definitely. We're building out our social listening tool even more. And, we have some of our like Cookie3 investors who are using and saw our app and are using it for like normal marketing, because this KOL intelligence tool is new. It's like the beta version. But people who are using it are super happy. So definitely it's something for investors. Our tool is only B2B right now, but we are also working on releasing some sort of B2C functionality, because obviously for retail audience, for everyday like investors, these information is also super important. Like, being early is the thing in Web3, and by getting these insights, you can be early.
Absolutely. I also, that drives me to the next point, which is narratives are important, but I also feel, I was just saying, maybe meme coins are going down, AI applications, narratives and hype are really important. But I think one of the biggest challenges in Web3 has been also its speed at times, right? I think that I'm looking forward to having more consumer apps like Bondex, drive real traction and consumer growth, but not so reliant on speculation and incentives and narratives as much, but more really the quality of the features, and the technology it provides. That's one of the biggest challenges I see is like, I guess bots, airdrop farming, and not having, sometimes quality users. And I think that's where you guys, you've done a lot of civil farming, but civil protection, and that's one of the things that we use you for. But I'd love to hear, what are some of the biggest challenges that you find in the industry and the marketing field in Web3?
I would say it's vanity metrics, and a lot of projects are guilty of this. And I'm not saying we're not doing this at some point, because metrics are important. It's important to have big metrics, especially if you're like pre-token launch and you're going to exchanges, you're coming to investors. Like, big numbers matter, but then you also need to think about who's behind these big numbers. Are these people who are joining your project only because you're giving free money, and once and don't using your infrastructure at all? Because those users are not going to stick long term. Once you stop giving them rewards, once you stop giving them incentives, once you stop giving them money, like, they will go as soon as they came in. So it's about attracting people who are genuinely interested in what you do, believe in what you do, and are going to be your on-chain users. Oh, I think you just dropped off. Anyways, I will keep talking. Hopefully you'll come back.
I'm here. I'm back. Apologies for that. Had a weird drop there in my internet. Sorry about that.
Okay. So it's, and then on-chain data can help you a lot. It's sort of the same example that I said before. Like, people who are not that much of quality users usually have less than $100 in their wallet, and because usually they just get rewards, they and then they sell them, like they sell the tokens, and it's pretty easy to see with analytics who's doing this. And if that's the audience you're attracting in majority, then this is probably the audience that's going to dump your token or is not going to stick with you long term, and you'll have to go into the process of rebuilding your community again if you want to have like long-term success. These people are great as long as you're giving them free money that then they can dump. Like, if you stop and you ask them to do something, then they'll turn on you.
I find this to be a super interesting point. I think that's something that, because we have an airdrop, is something that definitely a challenge in botnets. And how can you have sustainable rewards and build a meritocracy? For us, it's like what the things that people have to do to qualify for an airdrop. In our case, the requirements were stringent, and apart from the civil protection, we ended up with 80,000, something like that, airdrop season one airdrop recipients. And it'd be interesting to dive into kind of what are that audience, what type of audience are they based on that? Because when you have incentives, I think it attracts people in emerging economies that are looking for those incentives, and it's useful, really, traffic flow and users. But if you have to then filter that out to who are the long-term holders of the project, the people that fit into the use case and the real product, right? It's a double-edged sword, incentives and those metrics, essentially. But hype, on the airdrops and the incentives are very predominant in Web3. So what are some of the tips that you would recommend projects to get off, I guess, that hook? Sometimes you're hooked on those incentives, and as long as you're giving free money, it's great. Then they leave you, or they get angry and they make noise. What would be some of your tips for projects to kind of get that good audience or high
I
quality
mean,
audience?
it's about both, because those metrics are important as well. So, like, onboarding these, like, but just do it consciously. Like, know when you're onboarding the audience that's incentive driven, know that you're doing it for numbers, and know that you're doing it short term, and also have a strategy to onboard quality audience. For example, what we helped Cookie DAO do with the cookie airdrop was something called an ecosystem campaign. So a lot of projects that are running airdrops, they already have some partners and connections in the space to projects that have been in the space for a longer period of time. And this is what we did. We reached out to our partners. We had over 50 partners participating, and we gave a lot of points, and we have rewarded people that meet on-chain requirements of being quality users of these ecosystems. So it was either they had to like call NFT for a certain time, or they had to have that many smart contract interactions with our partners, and then they would log in for the airdrop with their wallet, and they were instantly rewarded for being a quality on-chain user, for actually being someone who's a quality user to other projects, because very likely they're going to be a quality user like for your project as well, if they're not dumping on other projects. So cross-checking and using on-chain data to reward users that you can check are quality users, and giving them, for example, more points in the airdrop, or giving them even some guaranteed airdrop, is a way to get them hooked. Also, something else that we do is that we do with our social listening. So we have like an AI algorithm that whenever you do social farming, you can assess the quality of tweets. So if someone's just like tweeting your ticker and saying farm, like they're going to get 0 points, because what you want to see with social farming is education and visibility of your project. If you have loads of farming tweets, you're just going to attract farmers who are going to keep tweeting about your ticker, but you're actually not going to reach the people who think a lot about what they invest in, because these people want to see what they invest in, and they want to see what projects they are onboarding on, so they want to see information. So with our airdrop tool, you can actually score tweets based on whether there is any quality content in them, and then give people points only if they're providing education to the space, rather than just trying to stack up points and then dump on you.
That's a paradigm shift. I love that. Those are the right incentives. Those are the right things. Because again, like I think that people who are spending their time online and they're helping a project, market it, contribute to it, even if you say that they're spending those incentives, as long as they've earned them, I don't have a problem with it. I do have a problem with kind of the life cycle of it and how it can become negative or toxic. And then overall, you also want a good balance, as you said, of people marketing, promoting the project, and then the long-term people that are investing and holding the token and also using the products or services that you're actually building, right? That's super interesting about how to segment those and then how to be conscious of which audience that you're going after. We're gonna have to have a call after this, Christina, because as we have TGE and our airdrop distribution and everything else, we need to partner up even deeper. That's what this conversation has helped me realize, is Bondex needs more Cookie3. We shouldn't have had needed a live stream to do this.
Yeah, 100%. Actually, something what we're preparing right now, we're prepared because after, we've helped the Cookie DAO launch the token. Now we kind of have a more quiet period, so we can really focus on our technology. And we're actually preparing like a lot of guides and templates and sort of like go-to-market strategy and plans that we're going to put on our website and put on our blog, exactly for people like you. So, you can go, you can read, and you can learn from experience.
This is fantastic because, I think like essentially, I think the space is going towards a more sustainable like maturity level, and for that you need to be aware of the audiences and the traffic flow. And so that would be super useful. I'm looking forward to you guys having more time and putting all this content out there, and thank you for doing so. My next question is actually more around getting into hiring and the talent, right? So now you've been in Cookie3. It's a very successful company. You guys are a growing team. I'd love to hear from your take when you're expanding and looking into hiring into your team. What are the key qualities that you look for?
Actually, I'd say hiring in Web3 is pretty difficult, especially like Web3 marketing, because I was hiring people on my team recently, and you don't have that many people who are Web3 native and have Web3 knowledge and have also like marketing knowledge. It's usually one or the other, or it's someone with like very limited Web3 knowledge, but a lot of marketing knowledge, which is what you need, especially as you said, we're moving into maturity stage where we're using stuff like data and more quality campaigns. It's not just about the hype anymore. Um, and then you have the Web3 evangelists, which are great. Like they understand the space, they live it, they breathe it, but they don't get marketing. So it's really difficult. So people who get both are like gems. Like if that's you, like value yourself because it's really difficult to find you. So yeah.
That's like such an interesting point. So, what do you think is more important, like the passion for the space, or just the knowledge of marketing techniques, data, like using the tools, experience, and then a capability of learning Web3?
Both. I'm super torn. I mean, some people would say knowing Web3, and I feel I am more towards knowing Web3, but it also depends what your job is. Like, if you're like a social media manager, it might be knowing Web3. But if you're like planning, let's say, like ads or any like B2B campaign, I'd say more marketing experience. But after interviewing some people for roles that we had open at Cookie3 recently, I realized like at least like solid Web3 knowledge is important because it's super complex. Like the learning curve is so steep. Like if you hired someone with very little Web3 experience, I feel you would have to put a lot of training, like 2 or 3 months to get them up to speed. And this is what I realized interviewing people because I had someone who had super strong marketing experience, but very little, Web3 experience. And they didn't know like how wallets work, what are like how different chains work, why you need to bridge tokens. And it's like, even though it was like a B2B role, so I was hiring someone to speak to businesses, but it's important they understand the space, and this space is super technical. So I'd say base Web3 knowledge first, maybe not being like a Web3 evangelist, but at least understanding what the trends are and understanding how it works, then marketing knowledge. But again, it super depends on what role you're hiring for, because if you're like social media manager, being a Web3 evangelist is super important, plus then marketing knowledge. But if you've got someone above the social media manager who knows how marketing works, you can train them. But in other aspects, it's important to have both. So it's really role dependent.
Okay, that makes sense. That is nuance versus on role dependent. And beyond just experience on those two verticals, what are some of the key attributes that you look for? Like anything like personality wise? I would love to know, yeah, when you guys are hiring, what are you looking for?
Um, Actually, again, I can give you like a story from experience. So I had two really strong candidates recently, and well, it was just a culture fit. Like we hired the candidate that we felt was more culture fit. So she seemed like she works like quicker and is more adaptable to change. And I'd say this is super important because this is what I started with, that Web3 is changing, like what's hot right now and what's trending, like it can change in a second. And then the Web3 like marketing cycle and buying cycle, it's compared to like Web2 and like more mature industries, the cycles of like trend cycles are much longer. In Web3, the trend cycles are super super short and super super quick. So you need someone who is adaptable to change and can sort of work quickly and readapt strategies into what's trending right now. So you need people who are multitaskers and who are sort of like chameleons, I'd even say.
Okay, that's interesting. So that's good. Those are good personality traits that make a lot of sense. The space and the industry changes so fast that you certainly need to be adaptable and also very curious. You need to be intellectually curious to learn what these new technologies are. And you don't need to be an expert on everything, but you need to be a jack of all trades. It's exactly the things that the attributes that you just mentioned. Okay, we're now towards the end. I just want to thank you and thank you all the Bondens for tuning in, and Christina for giving us this masterclass in Web3 marketing. Anything that you want to let the community know about Cookie3, what's coming up next, where they can find you?
um Yes, so you can find us at cookie3.com. On Twitter, it's cookie3_com, and on Telegram is cookie3_co. And on our website, you can find the links to all our other socials, which is like YouTube, which is our Discord community, which is super great. I love our Discord, especially we have like a special role for people who are like holders and stakers of the cookie token, and they get personal responses and time from like me and our CEO. So if you want to ask any questions about Web3 marketing and have like one-to-one time with us, where we will see your message and 100% respond, then our Discord is a good place to be, and joining the Cookie exclusive channel.
Thank you very much, Christina. Listen, as a happy client, I can only recommend Cookie3, so much, because, we've lived the results and on what they're building and doing. And just want to thank you. Thanks again for everyone for tuning in. And thank you, Christina, for your time today.
Thank you. And obviously a reminder to any marketers listening, we have a 2-week free trial for anyone wanting to try our analytics. So if you just go into cookie3.co and you click on the analytics tab, you can go to the app and you can start your free trial. We have our key account managers on hand to help you plug your website in, so you get your all insights and everything. So I really recommend you go and try it.
That's awesome. Go try it, guys. And Christina, I'll be reaching out to also catch up one-to-one on some of the topics that you touched on, because they're going to be very useful for us as our TG and our airdrop comes up.
Amazing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to it. Bye-bye.